Welcome to Mocktails and Masterpieces with the Indianapolis Chamber Orchestra, sponsored by Anthony Shefferly and Associates. Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Mocktails and Masterpieces. I'm Dana Stone, the Executive Director of the Indianapolis Chamber Orchestra, and I'm here today with Suliman Tekalli, who is our new Concertmaster of the ICO, as we begin our next season in motion in 2025-2026. So, Sully, please take a minute to kind of introduce yourself to our audiences and kind of share how you got connected with the ICO.
Hello, it's great to be here. Thank you, Dana, for having me on this. Yes, I'm super excited to be joining the Indianapolis Chamber Orchestra for at the following season from 2025 onwards in the fall. So I actually got to know this orchestra through I heard about it through a friend of mine who's actually in the orchestra, Emily Poppin, who was a former an alum of a program that we went through in New York City called Ensemble Connect, which is an organization, sort of a chamber music teaching artist organization that's run by Carnegie Hall. And so I was interested in it. I saw some clips that ICO had made over the pandemic, and I thought, oh, it'd be really nice to work with a chamber orchestra. I especially like chamber orchestras because of the sort of the more intimate vibe that there is with that type of a group size. And so I just went ahead and threw my hat in the ring, and yeah, I'm so happy that things worked out and that I'm getting to join the group, make some music with the wonderful musicians at the ICO. So.
Absolutely. So for audience members that don't know, we had a wonderful concertmaster through 2020, Taran Travers. But during the pandemic, he became kind of unavailable, not in the United States, and it was almost impossible for him to come back. And eventually he ended up resigning from the ICO and kind of left us in a gap where we weren't really able to audition because of the pandemic. And we sort of had a rotating chair of concertmasters over the past almost 5 years. Last year, we went through the formal process of an audition and then an audition concert beyond that after we kind of narrowed the field even further. So we're really excited to have stability within the orchestra. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the role of a concertmaster. I think people know that that's the first chair, but there's so much more to it. So maybe you can talk about your experience so far and also past experience of what you feel like that role means, especially in a kind of chamber style environment.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the sort of outward facing roles that the concertmaster sort of fulfills is this obviously being at the front of the first violin section and kind of close to the conductor. They're the one that enters and sort of like formally begins the concert performance and cues the oboe for an A and tunes up the orchestra. Behind all of that, though, and also plays all the solos that are intended for the concertmaster, et cetera, et cetera. And well, behind all that, though, there's also a sort of a leadership role within that position. Um, we, as concertmasters, we bow up the parts of the violin section, and that sort of gets distributed. That in itself sort of sets the artistic direction in a sort of technical way of the music. Aside from the bowings, the concertmaster also acts as a sort of a medium between the musicians of the orchestra and the conductor. So the conductor often has to take a sort of a broad sort of a way of dealing with the orchestra, since you're dealing with the winds and the strings and everything. And so oftentimes like they deal with like very sort of high level musical ideas, and then since the musicians are the ones that are actually executing the sound, sometimes the concertmaster will act as a sort of medium of communication to take the conductor's ideas and figure out an actual physical way of executing it and communicating it to the rest of the section, and at certain times maybe the rest of the orchestra. And this can happen during the rehearsal, it can happen off the rehearsal. So there's a lot of sort of action that's happening throughout the whole cycle, the whole rehearsal cycle. And then during an actual concert, the conductor usually initiates the musical idea. Obviously, they're keeping time, and the concertmaster initiates the actual physical motion. We try to sort of I would say focus our energy around that area where the concertmaster is, so that the sound is being executed in a sort of unified way. If that makes any sense.
It does. I think it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we're looking to have an episode directed just towards bowings, but I think a lot of regular audience members may not realize the artistic element, I guess, of bowing, what that means. So, can you just give like a high level, what is bowing, and why is it important?
Right. Well, for the stringed instruments, bowings are literally whether or not you're taking, like, we call this an up bow, where you're bringing the bow, the sort of like where you're holding the bow up closer to where you are here, this area, and then the down bow where you're sort of extending your arm, and this sort of horizontal motion is what creates the sound of the instrument. Now, that's what a bowing is, a down bow or an up bow. And the reason why it's important to really decide upon what specific bowings you're doing is you have to map in some ways. There's a sort of natural sound which happens on a down bow and a natural sound which happens on an up bow. Sort of like outward breath and an inward intake of breath in some ways. It's like, a good way of sort of an analogy of it. It creates the phrase, the sort of the sequence in which you choose your bowings, whether or not you connect the bowings together, whether or not they're separated. It gets really complicated, but that sequence of choice that you make with the bowings is what creates the musical phrase. And it can be done in so many different ways. But what's important about choosing the bowings as a concertmaster is that you have to keep in mind that there are perhaps a wide variety of styles of which one could approach bowings for a particular piece. You have to choose one way that you feel would work for a larger section, because playing alone is one thing. Everyone will do what's most comfortable for them, but you have to try to choose a way that will still capture the concept that the composer is intending, while having a bowing that sort of is comfortable for the whole section.
Thank you. I think that's helpful. I think, I know actually there was a time when I didn't realize this, that, that's so planned. You watch a concert and you see all the bows moving in sync, right? And I just never put two and two together that was like planned.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it doesn't just happen, right? But maybe it's not as obvious that it doesn't just happen, that it does have to be planned, and that every section coordinates with each other. Like your bowings then go to second violin and so forth to viola, cello, and bass, so that there's some uniformity within the entire string family. So thank you for just kind of the brief overview. And I think we're going to dive into that in another episode, because we could talk a long time about the musical choices, and then also just the nuts and bolts of what that means.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like a little bit more information about you. So can you share kind of your educational background? You have family in Indiana, but you're not from here, right? So tell us more about you.
Yeah, so I do have family, and it's my extended family it's my in-laws actually. So my sister, who incidentally is a pianist, she is married to someone who's from Indiana. So my mother and father-in-law are in Indiana, and it's kind of cool because my sister also went to IU in Bloomington. So it's not the first time I've been in Indiana. I've visited when I would visit my sister. And um, a little bit about my background. I was born in Daytona Beach and raised in Orlando, Florida, when I was 3. And I started the violin when I was 3, and went to after I grew up in Orlando. I had a private teacher there. Started off at the very beginning, my first year in the Suzuki method, and then my parents decided to bring me over to a private teacher at the time. This wonderful Russian violinist who really set me up in many ways. His name is Lev Gorevich. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And I had studied with some other teachers as well throughout that period, and eventually I began my undergraduate studies in the Juilliard School, studying with Professor Hyo Kong. And at the time, I was very young, and well, not very young. I was 1 year younger than maybe most people would usually go there. And I decided that I wanted to follow another teacher at the time to the Schwab School of Music in Columbus, Georgia, where I finished out my undergraduate degree. Then after that, I went to the Cleveland Institute of Music for my master's degree with Joel Smirnoff, and that was for 2 years, wonderful 2 years working with him. And finally, I finished out my studies at the Yale School of Music, again with Professor Hyo Kong there. So it's kind of I've been all over the place, really. Um, and yeah, after Yale, I joined a professional string quartet called the Catalyst Quartet. They were based in New York City. So I moved there, and I was with them for some time and decided that I wanted to do some other things artistically and musically. So ever since around like right before the pandemic, I'd been doing a lot of freelancing and working with different orchestras, some conductorless orchestras, as well as conducted orchestras, and a lot of chamber music. And which is my love for chamber music sort of is one of the big reasons why joining the ICO was such an attractive idea.
Great. Well, thank you for that. So I know that you have provided a recording that we definitely want to share, and I'll let you kind of tee that up and explain the piece itself and the performance, and then we can talk some about what you're looking forward to this season with the ICO.
Mhm. Yeah, so this piece is the final movement of an arrangement that I made of Maurice Ravel's Le Tombeau de Couperin, which is a work that he had written originally for solo piano. Um, it it's a piece that he wrote. Actually, it's a piece that he wrote that commemorates a lot of his fallen friends. He was actually in World War One. I think he was an ambulance driver, and so he witnessed and experienced the horrors of that war. And he wrote this piece with each movement commemorating a fallen friend of his. And it's a very beautiful piece. And he actually had orchestrated it later, 4 of the movements, which we will actually be playing next season. The Prelude, the Forlane, the Minuet, and the Rigodon. And so I actually I love this piece so much that I had decided to arrange it for violin and piano. And so I did the Prelude, the Rigodon, the Minuet, and the Toccata, which had not been orchestrated by Ravel. Which for me, it's really a fun piece and engaging piece for me to play as a violin piano piece. And my sister, who's sort of like my partner in crime, who always sort of asked to do a lot of to play as pianist in a lot of my arrangements is in this particular recording. So this is the toccata from Le Tombeau de Couperin.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's lovely to see family making music together. I think there's certainly a tradition among musicians of making music with spouses, sisters, brothers, siblings, parents. So it's fun to see that sort of collaboration that comes from knowing each other so well and making music together. So, and looking forward to this upcoming season with the ICO, your first full season, is there anything in particular that you're really looking forward to playing? Any concert in particular?
Well, I just so definitely the concert in November is something that I'm looking forward to with the Ravel. And I am also looking forward to working with Timothy Fain, who is actually I had worked with when I was in youth orchestra way back when I was a real kid, like in fourth grade. I think he came and played the Tchaikovsky violin concerto with us, and it's kind of cool to sort of bridge the gap between life eras in a way. So I don't know if he'll remember me, but I think he would. If I mentioned the Florida Symphony Youth Orchestra, he'll probably remember that moment. Maybe we'll see. But I'm super excited to reconnect with him.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's interesting how everything kind of comes full circle. And the musical world is small. And so
Yes.
we kind of cross paths with each other through different pathways and at different stages of life. So that's really neat. Um, Anything else you'd like to share about your upcoming engagements with the ICO concerts that we have or other engagements that you have through your freelancing work?
Well, needless to say, I'm excited to join the group for the full season. Um, Well, it's going to be a wide and a variety of really amazing music. It'll be also a variety of ways in which we're presenting music as well, which I'm excited about. The I actually failed to mention Shaker Loops as another exciting thing which I'm looking forward to, and working with I believe that's with some dancers, correct? Yeah, that's a really cool piece. I really love performing that piece. I've done it a few times in different arrangements. One of them was actually without conductor, which was very scary. But you know,
That
all
sounds terrifying.
helps a great deal. It's an exciting piece and should be an exciting collaboration. Um, the following summer is going to be really fun too. I'm going to be headed to Korea and France, France with my string quintet, and Korea with an unconducted ensemble. Playing a lot of chamber music and some collaborations with Gail Shaham and Adele. So looking forward to that. And yeah, it's gonna be a great year ahead. And I'm really looking forward to what we will be doing musically with the ICO.
Absolutely. Well, we are so thrilled to have you join us, to have your leadership and stability to kind of help lead the orchestra and kind of build a future of, or a continuing past, present, and future of wonderful, excellent artistic collaborations and creative musical performances. So thank you for joining us and thank you for listening today. And if you'd like to learn more about ICO's upcoming season, please do visit icomusic.org. Do you have a website with your engagements?
Yes, so it is www.sulimantekalliviolin.com, and no dashes, nothing, just yep.
Straight through. And I think we also have a link to that in your bio on our website if you make it that deep in searching the ICO website. So we hope that you'll join us all season and continue to stay connected with upcoming concerts and events with the ICO. Thanks so much for joining us.
For having me. Looking forward.